is this just fantasy? Why, you could say so, but it is also barbaric. This is a newish comic that's been out for a couple of years now, and they've got a couple of story arcs or trades or whatever you want to call it kind of under their belt at this point. There's even already a spin off or two out there to buy. So I figured it's fine to just cover what we got here. So this is the first three books of Barbaric, and I'm only really going to talk about the first one because I want to give people a chance, if they're interested, to seek out and get this comic, whether in trade form or issue form or whatever, especially if it's up their alley. And there's a lot of stuff here that I really like. There's stuff here that is clearly a favorite of the writer. There's clearly stuff here that the artist loves to draw. It's clearly a tongue-in-cheek take on the barbarian genre, fantasy genre as a whole, and that's both for better and for fun. If you don't have a sense of humor, need not apply. And also, if you don't like super gory stuff, need not apply. Or if you're offended by, I guess you could say, semi-nudity and all that shit, but in swearing, but why not go ahead and just get into it. Alright, so Barbaric issue 1 here. So this cover is done by the artist for the interior of this book, Nathan Gooden. And that's something I always like, because I like seeing the interior artists doing the covers, because that way you get a honest sense of what to expect on the inside art-wise. And this is a book written by Michael Moreci, and I have talked about another book that he is working on right now, which is The Mighty Barbarians. So clearly he loves Barbarians. And yeah, I guess if you're a fan of that book, then I'd say you'd probably like this one. And if you like Barbaric, you'd probably like Mighty Barbarians. And you might be already reading both of them. So what am I doing? Let's just go ahead and open this up. So something to point out is get used to this character, but not used to this character, say. And also just get used to just, the casual boob here and there. Because that's just what's going to happen here. So starting off pretty strong with the depiction of this fantasy setting. I like these orbs in nets. We clearly have some different kinds of fantasy races here. We got purple elf people and I don't know, a snake person maybe, and there's an elf here and goblin, I don't know. It's not clear, and it's also possibly even there's a lot of species here that aren't just the common standard fantasy races, but those fantasy races also exist here, so it's just kind of a different kind of mishmash. But the art already is, I think, really strong. Nice buildings here in the back. And just, yeah, I also love the attention to detail, putting animals and stuff, because a lot of people forget animals. And yeah, good figure work. I love the simplification of this crowd in this amphitheater, and we're bringing in our titular, or our main character, I should say, not titular character, but he's called the Barbarian here in this particular context, but he's not Conan the Barbarian. And he's got a weird looking axe. And he is, the basic gimmick is that he is a barbarian who is cursed to only harm bad people, or basically he can only do good. So no more is he, pillaging and attacking innocents and killing them and stealing from them. He has to do good, and he hates it. And along for the ride is this axe. So this side of the axe may look impractical, but honestly, I believe it is the only side of the axe that gets any action. Action. You're welcome. So yeah, it's a character as well. And so this axe talks, and I guess at a certain point, I kind of was unsure if the rest of the world sees the axe like this, if that it's got like a demon face in it, or if it's just him that sees it, because he's the only one that hears it. Or I guess I should say most people don't hear it. There's a few characters that have, but most people can't hear the snide, shitty comments that he has. The dynamic here is a little antagonistic. It's not as antagonistic as something like Headlopper or Norgal the Barbarian, or the Viking, I should say, and Agatha, the Blue Witch's head. But, like, that's, I don't know, their dynamic is both antagonistic and yet charming, and this, I mean, I guess there's a charm to it. It's definitely, like, there's just kind of more direct hate, and this axe loves drinking blood, so I guess it's sort of a vampiric axe, and he goes at it and he starts to chop, and so I guess they're yeah, it's a good way to introduce this barbarian guy and his evil axe. Is that he is just gonna chop up these nasty people who I'm guessing that are a part of this gladiatorial battle for, the fact that they're shitty. I don't know. So something I want to point out is this like kind of crosshatch texture. You'll see it lots of places in the artwork. See it here, and I'm guessing I get the vibe I get from this art is that it is at least in part digital, if not entirely digital, which is not a criticism. I'm an artist who primarily works digitally, so that is not to the detriment of the artwork in any way, or a criticism, or a negative in my book as far as I'm concerned, because I think it's good looking art. But this seems to be like a very particular pattern, kind of like a crosshatch pattern that Nathan Gooden likes to use in his art, and I think it works because it's distinctive. Like, I can pick out his art in a lineup because it's probably going to have something like that in it, and just the way he stylizes like hair and figures. He's really good with hair, honestly. I really like it. But yeah, that's just something that I've noticed is a common texture, and most people aren't even gonna like pay attention to that, but I do because I'm an artist, and I'm just like, oh, I wonder what that texture is, or what brush that is technically digitally. Yeah, nice little glowing eye, but yeah, he's about to go ham on these guys, and so this is why you pick up the book, right? This is just, yeah, bloody mayhem, chopping off limbs. And what's interesting about the axe is that, like, sometimes it looks like he's biting things as he attacks, and he just, he viciously punches these people, and he's splitting them up, and yeah, his axe is nice and drunk, I guess. It gets drunk when it drinks blood. But, yeah, so, like, he's a badass with an axe. And that's the whole vibe of the character, and he tries to find loopholes to kill the people he doesn't like this guy who's chopped in half diagonally. But yeah, like all throughout this, there's just willy nilly different characters that are different kinds of creature, and I like that. It's a nice. It gives the world a particular vibe or look where it's not, there's no just homogenous sections of people in just the general world. There's all different kinds here. And so here we get a bit of a backstory of Owen, our barbarian. Owen the Barbarian. And yeah, he's a drinker, and a fucker and a killer and repeat. And so like that is like, yeah, it's a basic summation of the kind of character he was. And he was just a nasty son of a bitch. And then he basically runs afoul of some witches, some cool looking witches, and he gets cursed basically, and cursed to do good, as I said before. And I gotta say, like, the art, I really like all of the art here, for this flashback, and especially like this like witch attack, like this nice, great moody shot there. The witches look cool, love like their green magic and great use of color here. It's a good looking book. Don't really have any complaints really with the look of it. It's fun. This is just this issue is mainly like the setup, and there's the setting up the pantheon of, I guess, demons. So we have different demons. One of them being, Ghost Rider. It's too good of a look for a demon to not do. Really? Really. And a cool view of hell, which is, very monstery, demony, fiery hell. It's always interesting seeing, elements of our own worlds, like mythology and religion creeping into fantasy. It's like you pick the stuff that you want and you put it in, and you leave out the rest. So this is not, say, Judeo-Christian hell. It is whatever this world is called hell. But yeah, all around, it is a pretty fun start, or it's just an interesting start. It sets up our world very clearly, and the type of story it is. A lot of irreverence, kind of everywhere, and that's just the mood and the personality that this book has. So yeah, there's just lots of innuendo and swearing, and yeah, I'll say, like, at the very least, lots of attempts at humor. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's some things that I think are funny, but not everything is. But that's why you load a book with jokes. Is at least a couple of them gonna hit. But that's also the pressure of doing a book because, like, I guess I can use this as an example, and there's another book I can actually use as an even better example of, like, there's a balance that can be struck here between comedy and fantasy, like basically a fantasy that takes itself seriously, a world that is a serious world and it's just got funny characters in it, and a world that's just a comedy world, or rather it is a comedy book first, and the fantasy trappings are just merely the clothes it's wearing. And this book kind of goes back and forth. I think it's mostly a comedy world, and all the fantasy elements are mostly there to set up jokes, or just to give the plot some stakes while, he squeezes someone's balls so much that they pop. Because that's a lovable protagonist, right? Again, if it's your vibe, it's your vibe, and no shame in that. But yeah, like that's what we're talking about here. This is a joke, and while there may seem to be stakes here for, say, this character who we're about to be introduced to, as being burned at the stake by these people, it's not treated as like particularly serious. I guess because it's not going to last very long, and this like zombie orc comes out of the ground, and she's got superpowers. She's got witch power, so she is a witch, in fact. And so they should burn her. Just kidding. But yeah, like it's a hard time taking the stakes seriously when there's just joke after joke after joke after joke, and eventually it's kind of like similar but not the same as The Boy Who Cried Wolf. It's like I can't take the stakes of this seriously because nothing else has been serious. So I don't think I'm supposed to take it seriously. I think it's just supposed to be a fun book, and for that, it is doing its job. And this is really cool. So here she's pulling off one of her tattoos, and it's a real sword. Very cool fantasy thing. And yeah, again, just we always get fun little like setups and lead-ins, and this thing just always happy with the blood. So yeah, like this is without a doubt exemplary of Barbaric. I feel like for a first issue, it is telling you what to expect on every single issue to follow, basically. We have these two characters, unlike each other, and probably needing to team up. And we have axe, and we have violence and blood, and swearing, and giant demon snakes. And yeah, like that's all of this led here to we've set up our, I guess the start of our D&D party. We have our barbarian, we have our magic user. And so that is issue 1 of Barbaric. So like I said, I think the art in this is very good. I think that the action is fun. It's really well drawn. I love like each of these panels breaks out like an interesting moment. It's licking the blood off of itself, and guts are flying, heads are flying. He's punching people, and yeah, I think if everything I'm showing you appeals to you, then you should buy this book and you should read it, because I feel like you'll enjoy it. If it doesn't appeal to you, if this is not what you like in your fantasy, then there's no real point in seeking it out. But I just wanted to inform people that, like, hey, like there's all sorts of things out there for people to check out. All different vibes, so this is just one, and we'll look at others. It seems that Michael Moreci is a writer who loves fantasy, loves Barbarians especially, and seems to be somebody who right now is like putting more fantasy work on the shelves. So this is just one take on a fantasy world. For one that's a little different, I recommend my book, Sidequesters. It is a little, has a bit comedy too, has some action and, fighting and stuff too, but, it is also something that's a little more focused on, and if you want something that's got good action and some comedy in it too, but takes a different tone entirely, I recommend Side Questers. This is my book. It is the first collected edition of it. This is the first 8 issues. And it's about a noble warrior who has to team up with a giant lizard man and all the shenanigans they get up to together. This is the book I'm the most proud of that I've done. And you can buy it on my website. You can also read all the issues on Global Comics. And I also have my Haxan kind of witchcraft and horror series. So these are kind of like dark stories dealing with magic users that take place in the same world as side questers. So they kind of overlap and even star in each other stories. And these you can buy on my website. You can also find them on Global Comics. And for something that's a little more traditional comics, I have 3-Panel Origin, which is my comedy superhero series in the vein of like The Tick or Mystery Men or something like that. And I basically create an embarrassing superhero or supervillain and tell their origin in 3 panels. And it's usually something kind of awkward. This is the collected first 3 years. I release new comics every Thursday. This book you can buy on my website as well as this book, 3PO Comics. This is a anthology of a couple different short stories involving the characters I've created in 3-Panel Origin. So yeah, if you like what you saw, give Barbaric a try. I'll talk more about it. I'll talk about the other issues of the first arc and further issues. And, I'll try not to spoil too many important things, but there's some stuff I would like to talk about. I guess I'll be reading more Michael Moreci fantasy comics in the near future.